Alright, let's see if I can remember how to do this.
When you finally fed up, you said come be satisfied, homie, there's no peace like mine. You said come be satisfied, cause where I'm from we never.
Alright, welcome back to the Broke Boys podcast. I'm Ryan Solo today. The new setup, I feel like every time we film, or I film an episode, I guess, it is in a new setup. I think there's only been maybe two, 3 episodes where it's been in the same place. But we're in a new setup we're in my bedroom, but we're on the um, whatever end. There's no new end. I feel like this podcast has seen every angle of my bedroom. I don't know why I was gonna say sadly. I mean, my bedroom's pretty cool, but we're here in this new setup, riding solo today. I've had many people on this podcast. I originally started this podcast with a buddy of mine, Emmanuel, from episodes 1 to like 4, I think. No, definitely not 4. I just have a bad memory. He was in a good chunk, but then kind of our schedules just kind of never lined up, and we both really like this podcast thing, but I think we're both just bad at. I can't put the blame on him. I know I am bad at being consistent with stuff like this, just because it's not a priority, I guess you could say. Also, I keep looking at this screen. I need to look in the lens because I'm not talking to myself. I mean, depending on how many people watch this, I could potentially be talking to myself. Anyways, I keep trailing off to many different things. Anyways, this episode will be episode 17. The last time I filmed a podcast was when I graduated, and it was with my cousin. We were sitting on the other end of my bedroom, surprisingly, right? And it was only about half an hour because it was very late, and we were trying to cram a whole bunch of things into one sort of week, I guess. He was only here for about I think 5 days. So we were trying to cram a lot. The day of graduation, he really wanted to play pickleball, so we played pickleball, which was to me, one and done experience. Pickleball isn't my favorite, I guess you could say, but it's not terrible. Anyways, again, trailed off up to what I was talking about, but the want to do a podcast has always been there, but for some reason, being consistent with it has not been there. But anyways, a couple things since graduation. The last time I was on this podcast, not much, right? Kind of went through all of summer. Didn't really do a lot. I worked a crap ton. I got promoted. Woo! You know? But yeah, life has been very mellow and kind of just going with the flow. Nothing really interesting. That's why I feel like doing a podcast, me personally, anyways, is not that interesting because I don't live a life of craziness. Like currently, it is 11 o'clock, and I said I've been wanting to do this podcast for about a week and a half now. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do a solo podcast. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. And I'm going to have it up because I haven't uploaded since I graduated. And I need to upload some new content. Because on some of the episodes have gotten, I mean, it's not that much, but a little over 100 views on YouTube specifically. And I mean, I feel like with YouTube, it's harder to get views. So with having that over 100 views, I feel like that was a big accomplishment. So seeing that even though it was a while ago that we had hit that on this podcast. Uh, I don't know. It kind of just drives motivation to get more done and do more episodes and see what could happen. Um, but I feel like each podcast as well isn't very planned out thoroughly, which is again my fault. But it's also like doing research on podcasts and like, hey, what are you supposed to do on podcasts and what do you talk about on podcasts? It is, again, me personally, I find it more complicated than you would think. And I feel like it comes naturally to some other people. And to me, I don't know. I guess it's just I probably make it complicated because I see um, all of these other podcasts doing so well. And of course, you want to try to mimic that. But at the same time, all these podcasts are uniquely different. So it's like you can't just try to mimic what they do because they're already famous for what they do and people are only going to go to that to get that. So it's like you can't do the same thing because one, no one's going to really even know you're there, especially when you're just starting out. And two, they're already used to getting this content from another person, so why would they have to go to this new person who's doing the same thing? So in all reality, um, when it came down to doing a podcast in a time where we were coming out of COVID and everybody and their mother had a podcast, it was difficult to find something new to do. Which I mean is almost inevitable, I feel like, because trying to find something to do is hard. I feel like I've done a Q&A with everybody that's been on this podcast a million times, and it gets repetitive. It gets really repetitive. I don't know why, but whenever sitting in front of a camera, it's hard to have conversation because you know the things that you say are going to go on the internet. And in the past couple years, it's been really scary to say things and put them on the internet, um, which is a bad thing. You shouldn't really care what people think about what you say or do or whatever. But in the world that we live in, it's just the reality. But anyway, let me hop off my soapbox here and kind of just, I don't know, I feel like this podcast is in the need of a revamp. And that's why I'm doing a little solo podcast here. Mainly because whoever I want to do a podcast with, the schedules just never line up. The schedules are never there. So I'm taking on the solo podcast and we're just going to see how it goes. We're not going to fight it. Talking into a camera can be weird. But again, it's just talking for like however long I feel this podcast should be, which is also another thing that I have to figure out because my baseline of when I started this podcast, I told myself, oh yeah, podcast will be an hour long, not knowing how hard it is to fill out an hour of video. It's more difficult than it sounds. So, my whole breakdown here is probably to start out with, I would say, half an hour. Half an hour is a lot more manageable, and if it goes longer, sure. Say if I have another guest on the podcast and the conversation is just flowing, hey, more than half an hour is just fine. If you get some extra content, you could, hey, maybe split it up into 2 episodes or put it into 1 episode. Hey, whatever happens, happens. But I think for now, if this solo thing goes on for a little bit, I think I'll just stick to half an hour because that's a lot easier. And another thing having to figure out is how much I'm going to upload because, of course, me and my time management and managing things that I want to do. I'm starting school in a couple of days. So, yeah, having to do this podcast is going to be more on the back burner than I originally wanted. I just thought of that right now. I literally just went, "Oh, I'm starting school in a couple days." College. Well, that's a thing we can get into later. But yeah, revamping this podcast is something that I've been wanting to do because I bought all this equipment and it took me a while to get all this equipment. Looking back to episode 1 where it was me, Emmanuel, to Garage Band, or it's not even Garage Band, Guitar Hero, microphones, and a dinosaur of a laptop that's sitting behind me right now. It was just that. And a phone that we used to film the podcast. Which I find that the first episode was pretty good. It wasn't terrible. I think it was just us starting out. It was half an hour long because um we didn't record on the phone. We're filming on the camera that I have now that only records 30 minutes at a time, which you can do that, but you have to like go into the camera settings and figure all that out, and I just haven't done that. Anyways, for the future of this podcast, I would say having guests isn't on my priority list just because there aren't a lot of people that are like, "Oh, you have a podcast? I really want to be on that podcast." So may happen to where I have future episodes with a guest, but for the time being, it's just gonna be my lovely face in front of the screen. So, talking about future things, like I said before, I'm starting college in a couple of days. Kind of weird. Last episode I ended high school. This episode I'm starting college. Um, which again, for the people who I don't even know who watches this podcast, but the people who do, um, my my apologies for not being consistent. But that's a whole other thing that I don't have to get into. College, I am kind of excited for college. Mainly because I feel like I'm taking classes that sound like high school classes. So I'm not too excited about it. I feel like it's just going to be a continuation of high school, but in college form. One thing that I am happy about is the schedule that I have. I'm taking 2 in-person classes and 1 online class. And another plus is that my college is only a few blocks away, and I'm still living in my hometown. So that is a major plus. I'm going to be going to this college for the next 2 years, and then still planning out where I'm going to go after those 2 years. So, um, but yeah, the schedule that I have, literally on the first day of school, I have a class for 50 minutes, not even an hour, um, which is nice. But guess what? Right after that class, I'm going straight to work. So yeah, but other days I have that same class in the morning time. And then I have another class that's like 2.5 hours later. So I have a gap in my schedule. And that class is it's from like 1:30 or so to 3, I think. So it's a long class. But it's a photography class, which I really like photography. So my hope is that this class will be easy, I guess, and will fly by. But hey, I can't make assumptions because I don't know what this class is going to be like yet. So for that, college is college. Other life things. I am a youth group leader. Um, there was church for me has kind of been um, kind of a jug. Like picture someone juggling, and usually someone's juggling 3 items. I don't even know where I'm going with this. This is a weird thing that I thought of, but it made sense when I started talking about it. But say, I don't know, because I was going to one church. Okay, that's one item. I was going to that church for a long time. Then I stopped going to that church, and I was going to church number 2. Second item that that person's holding, right? Following? Yes, I am. At the same time, that first item, that church, I was serving at that church. That's item number 3. So, switching to this other church with my friends, I thought it was going to bring whole new opportunities, going to be super fun, which it was for the time being, but after a while I was missing my home church and the church that, I grew up in and was in ever since I was very small. That means the same thing. I don't know why I just said that, but I did. I did. Anyway, um, I had just started to serve in that church when I had switched to this other church. So when I was attending this other church, all I could think about was how I kind of dipped out on the other homies at the old church. Um, so, but it was fun going to that new place and having new experiences, meeting new people, meeting friends, and all of that. But I did end up switching back to my old church again excuse me, because I missed it and it's familiar and it's new. So, or it's not new. Why did I say new? I'm really tired. Um, it's just familiar and it's where I like to be on Sundays and saying hi to everybody that I know. So yeah, that was kind of a whole um, couple month long thing. I want to say like 4 months of a whole spiel that I went through, church related. So yeah, it definitely made me see the impact of switching churches and how not really easy it is, and uh, experiencing a new church. Um, which was fun. It was nice to experience that. So, but yeah, I'm starting to serve again at my the church that I'm going to now, and it's it's fun. I really enjoy it. Other things. I would say that's it for me on the life spiel. I like saying that word. It's really fun to say. But, you know, I think I think that's one thing that I would like to do every podcast, depending on if I upload once a week, once every 2 weeks, or if I forget about it and upload it again in 5 months. Doing like life updates, even if they're small, it's still cool, and if it's not that many, it's fine. But life updates are they're nice to share. They are. Other than life updates, I usually talk about sports in one way or another because I'm a huge sports guy. You could see this Seahawks flag hanging up above my bed here. there's not much to say about sports because this last season, the Seahawks lost in the first round of the playoffs, which was really sad. And um, my favorite basketball team, the Warriors, go Chef Curry, right? What did they even do? I think they lost. Oh, yes, yes, yes. They lost in the second round of the playoffs against the Lakers, which really sucked. That was very annoying. I hated that. So, looking into this new season, the NFL season is on week 2. As I'm filming this, don't know when it's going to get uploaded. I hope it's before week 3 of the NFL season, which should be, sometime. So, yeah, week 2 of the NFL season, the Seattle Seahawks lost week 1, of course. Who did they play? Who did they play? That's so weird. Why did I forget that? Oh my goodness, who did they? Hold on, I have to look at this on my phone. No, this is tripping me out. Who did they play? What the heck? I'm blanking so hard right now. Schedule. They played the Rams. How did I forget that? That's embarrassing. Anyways, they played the Rams, lost 30-13. Um, which is terrible. I sadly was at work, which again, at this next coming game, unfortunately, I will be at work again. But anyways, last week I was at work and tried to watch the game and look at the score as much as I could, and each time, conveniently, I never got to see a lick of offense. I was only watching the defense, which the defense did so terribly. It was bad. It was all around embarrassing. Which is really pretty much all I have to say on the topic of the Seahawks until, we get to Sunday and, well, it's almost Friday. Half an hour it'll be Friday. So, they go up against the Lions, the Detroit Lions, this next coming Sunday. So, we'll see where they can go. Hopefully they improve. I really hope they do. Because the whole offseason, they were getting hyped up like no other. Um, so I really hope that they could pull something out this next coming week against the Lions. Because oh my goodness, because the Lions, they look really good against the Chiefs, the defending champions. It was something to see. I gotta tell you, but I really hope the Seahawks, because I mean they got potential. They had potential last year that I feel like they could have, or they didn't release, but they got a lot of potential this year. Hopefully they can pull something out. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have today. This is about 24, almost 25 minutes. I just wanted to crank this out. I didn't have a lot to talk about, but I hope that whoever watches this enjoyed it. A little short but sweet, but just like last episode. Ha ha ha. Go check that one out. But I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop a like. And if you feel so inclined to, hit that subscribe button. Check out our social media. We are on TikTok and Instagram. We also have a Spotify. That we also have video on our Spotify as well. I know we a lot of people use Spotify. I don't really like Spotify, but we are also on Spotify. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And yeah, see you in the next one. Peace out.
Peace in the name.